Ladies and gentlemen, mine is not to read a CV of the president, because normally when people they introduce, they will go where the person was born, which school he went, and blah, 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 all these things, as if the person is looking for employment. He's already working. So we invited the president to grace this occasion today, despite his busy schedule. And I'm not going to do what I said I'm not going to do in terms of reading that CV. I think we can all stand up and welcome the president to deliver the keynote address. President.
Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Program Director, I'm rather glad that you haven't dimmed the lights. President of the BBC, Tate Elias Mzwakhe. We had expected Elias Mzwakhe to join us in Washington. And I don't know how it would have gone if he had been there. Possibly it would have gone a lot better because he's rather a smooth fellow. But he was not able to join us. We had wanted him, as well as the president of COSATU, to be there as she was there. She was able to make it on time. And another business leader could also not make it. I'd like to apologize, Elias, that you were not able to join us. It would have created a particularly wonderful scene if you had been there. Tate Matabane, the CEO of the Black Business Council, the national office bearers of the BBC and ministers and who are here present, as well as the Director General in the Presidency, representatives of the business community and captains of industry and distinguished guests. Allow me to extend my gratitude to the BBC for this invitation. It's always a great pleasure to grace the dinner of the summit. Your conference, or summit rather, is taking place at a time when the world is facing a convergence of crises, and the theme of your summit is well dubbed because you want to look at transformation in the context of the geopolitical crises that you can call polycrises that are taking place, where multiple interconnected challenges are compounding one another. And I'm rather impressed that you've chosen a theme that uses the global context and even our own national context as a backdrop to what you would like to address, which is transformation, a major mission for all of us. As many speakers have spoken about this theme. And these crises that are happening all over the world are destabilizing economies, and also our own, I would say. They're also destabilizing societies, ecosystems, and political institutions in many countries around the world. Our own country is also beset by a number of challenges that other countries or other nations are also facing. There are times when we think that we are so unique and exceptional and think that we are the only ones who are facing the challenges that we are facing. We face unique challenges as a country and as a nation, and it is to this end that we will be holding a national dialogue soon to enable South Africans to discuss many of the challenges that we are facing. And some of these challenges manifest themselves in a number of problems that people not only in our country are facing. Cost of living crises are widespread, and they impact largely, disproportionately on poor people and even middle-income households. And many countries and nations are facing rising debt, but the debt challenge and problem also faces households and families, and especially in the global south, but also in our own country where individuals are laboring under enormous debt burdens. Unacceptable levels of unemployment are not only unique in our own country, but prevail in many other countries. But in our own country, we have the worst unemployment problem, especially youth unemployment. Technological disruption is one of the challenges that we face, that is displacing jobs and creating new divides in skills and access as well. Climate and environmental change is one of those challenges that is being faced by the world, but in our own country as well. Extreme weather conditions like floods and droughts and wildfires, and this is the season for wildfires in many parts of our country, are also increasing in intensity and frequency as well. We also have to face a water crisis, and many other countries do face water crises as we do face, and ours is rather a difficult one as we are a water-scarce country. And other challenges that are being faced around the world, and to some extent we also face same, is just the political polarization. And we've seen it in our own country, which has led to the creation of a government of national unity, which is one of the issues that I'm sure in your summit you have also addressed, how the government of national unity can be utilized to achieve and to hasten the process of transformation. And in a number of other countries also facing authoritarianism and populism, and even in long-established economies. And we see how dictators and people who are either heads of states are tilting more and more towards dictatorial controls of their own countries. And the other challenge that is being faced is just the mistrust in institutions. And this is fueled by high levels of corruption and high levels of capture. We had our own state capture, but we are seeing capture being manifested in a number of other countries, countries that you never thought would have state capture, and it is happening. And we also see lack of accountability in a number of institutions, and also global conflicts that are manifesting themselves in a number of ways. Conflicts such as the Ukraine and Russia conflict, and continued conflicts in the Middle East, and also the genocide that continues to happen in Gaza. And we also see high levels of terrorism in a number of areas in the world, and coups, and particularly in the Sahel region, and destabilization in the DRC and a number of places. And we also see an assault on multilateral systems or institutions where they are becoming weakened, and these institutions, in the way they function, have become unrepresentative and in a number of ways outdated and ineffective as well. And the rules-based international order is under strain and is being undermined by major powers that are competing rather than cooperating. And there is also what you could say a lack of coordinated leadership for these institutions. And all these challenges are in many ways unprecedented in scale as well as complexity. And they also create a historic moment, I would argue, for transformation. So as we look at these challenges, we should look at them as opportunities to bring about change, to bring about transformation. The choices that leaders make, the choices that communities make, as well as institutions, including institutions or entities such as the BBC, will determine the direction of the next few years towards either greater division or collapse or towards transformation. And I would argue that it should be more towards transformation. There is a profound and urgent need all round. And sometimes we focus on ourselves only, but if you look at all the challenges that are being experienced around the world, I would argue that transformation is needed in the way that our world is functioning today. And it's needed across many systems that affect the lives of ordinary people, in the economy, in social structures, in climate action, in political processes, and many others. And these domains, in many ways, are interconnected. If you look at political structures, are also interconnected with issues of climate change. One could ask, why is transformation important? And a number of speakers who stood here were articulating themselves on the work that they are doing for transformation. And I was rather impressed as a number of either training seaters as well as a number of companies that stood up here speaking about the work that they are doing. And in many ways, one would say that we are in a transformative era in our country, because transformation is not simply about just reform. It's about rethinking systems to ensure that, yes, there is dignity, there is equity, there is also sustainability and resilience for the future generations that will follow us. And it is to this end that we adopted the theme that we did for our G20, that it should be about fostering equality and fostering sustainability and ensuring that, yes, there is full transformation. Now, the current polycrisis that the world is facing, which manifests in the way that it is, as I articulated, demands systemic change rather than incremental adjustments. And I do hope that the Black Business Council did during the summit that you have held has addressed the issues of transformation in its complete ramifications. And I would say, and proudly so, that the Black Business Council remains one of the foremost voices for transformation in our country, in the economy, and broadly in society. Now, I'm proud to assert that because you have, as an organization, stood very firm on the issue of transformation. And you've been so firm and so clear that you've been bold enough even to criticize government, where government may have been slow in fostering transformation and may have taken some missteps. So the BBC understands that transformation is necessary in the economy and society as we work to undo the inequities, the inequalities, and the injustices of our past. And I would say that as we celebrate this year, the 70th year of commemorating the Freedom Charter, it was our forebears who 70 years ago declared that the people of our country must share in the wealth that our country produces. That must remain amongst our foremost ambitions as a nation. And I applaud the BBC for having remained faithful and continued to be committed to us as a nation achieving that aspiration and that objective. It is one of those objectives or aspirations that are set out in the Freedom Charter, which as a people we must on a continuous basis seek to achieve. Fundamental economic transformation is vital to the growth of our economy and to the progress of our nation. This transformation is necessary if we are to unlock the capabilities of all our people and realize their full potential, and also the full potential of our economy. And we must dispense with the false notion that is put across that we must make a choice between growth and transformation. The growth of our economy will happen through transformation. That is a reality. So transformation is vital if growth is to be meaningful and is to be inclusive as well as to be sustainable. There are those who say, as I think the president of the BBC said, dump transformation. I mean, yes, dump black economic empowerment. Dump it because it is inhibiting growth. And I argue that it is what happened in the past that we have to transform and to change, and we can only do so through transformation to grow our economy. So in the end, yes, it is true that our task is to ensure that we pursue both growth and transformation in concert with more vigor and with greater effect. This must be a common effort that brings all South Africans together. And I'm hoping that when we hold our national dialogue, we'll be able to address this more fully as South Africans put their heads together to deal with the challenges that face our country. We must also give practical effect to what is contained in the preamble of our Constitution, which says, we, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past. We honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, and respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united by our diversity. Now, if we are to remain true to this solemn declaration, which is the preface to our Constitution, then we must reaffirm our common commitment to empowerment. We must reaffirm our common commitment to transformation, our common commitment to bring about change. We must reaffirm our common commitment to redress as well as restitution. Now, Constitution is very clear, and many people don't tend, they tend to sort of not pay close attention to the equality clause in our Constitution. The equality clause in our Constitution is very clear. And the struggle in our country was about bringing about equality. And the heart of our Constitution is around the equality clause, which says that steps and measures and laws must be made to redress the injustices of our past. And we will not turn away from that. And we must recognize that economic empowerment is in the end an undertaking that requires deliberate action across nearly every area of our national life. And there are those who say, please stop talking about what happened in the past. It is what happened in the past that we must never forget, for it must inform what we need to do now, and it must inspire what we should do in the future. That's what we need to do. It is not limited to a few laws, policies, or regulations. The economic empowerment of South Africans who were previously disadvantaged starts at birth. It begins with the circumstances into which a person is born. It starts from nutrition to healthcare, from early childhood development to the quality of basic education. I must say that one of the errors we made in our transformation process over the last 30 years is not to focus on early childhood development. We neglected early childhood development, and this is one of the fundamental changes that we have fostered in the 6th administration, that we are pushing ahead with in the 7th administration. We admit that we are 30 years late, but as they say in the classics, it's better late than never, and we are doing it now. And we must ensure that the black child who was deprived of a good education, receives the same developmental foundation that all children need to succeed in life. The expansion of fee-free schooling, the funding of students from poor and working class families. And we are now funding almost 1.2 million young people in higher education. The school feeding schemes, the scholar transport, and the child care grants all make a vital contribution to the economic empowerment of those who were previously disadvantaged. By the same measure, interventions that we take to reduce youth unemployment by providing work experience, the skills development that was being talked about here, and job opportunities are directed towards reducing the grade divide in economic opportunities. Just this week, over 200,000 unemployed young people started work at almost 20,000 of our schools across the country, gaining valuable skills and capabilities, whilst at the same time helping to improve the educational outcomes of the learners that follow in their footsteps. During the COVID period, we were able to bring in almost 1.5 million young people in our schools, and many people never really recognized. But those who did are the principals of almost 25,000 of our schools, the teachers in 25,000 of our schools, who could see the impact that was made and continues to be made by the young people that we are bringing in. Yes, it is job opportunities, but those job opportunities are preparing those young people for future employment, and a number of them are now getting jobs. From the partnerships that we have forged with business, with our social partners, to provide workplace experience, opportunities to young people, to the input vouchers that we provided to small-scale farmers, and we provided this to almost 200,000 small-scale farmers. We are steadily transforming the structure of our economy. Across every sector of society, we are committed to continue to work towards a South Africa of equality and a South Africa of equal opportunity for all. Since the advent of our democracy, we have built a comprehensive and robust legislative framework to advance the transformation of our economy. The broad-based Black Economic Empowerment Act and the Employment Equity Act are essential parts of this legislative framework. And this is where, for instance, organizations like the BBC really distinguished themselves in terms of the inputs that they made in finalizing these types of acts. And these acts came into being, since they came into being rather, there have been notable increases in Black business ownership, as well as the number of women-owned businesses in our country. We have seen progress with respect to the management, control, skills development, as well as enterprise supplier development. Our household income processes have moved forward in terms of narrowing the gap between racial groups. According to Stats SA, between 2006 and 2023, Black African households experienced real income growth of 46%. That's what Stats SA said. While colored households experienced income growth of 29% and Indian households 19%. While this can be considered as progress, the average income of white households is still nearly 5 times as high as Black African households. And this is where you see the disparity. Even as we make progress, those who were previously advantaged are still far ahead. And quite often, they are the ones who complain about employment equity, Black economic empowerment. And you often wonder, what is it? Is it greed that is driving them? Or is it jealousy? Because it should be prosper thy neighbor that should drive them. They should be applauding. They should really be applauding when they see that, yes, Black people are also moving up the scale. And they are often the very first to complain and even to take government to court. And on some employment measures, we are also seeing the gap narrowing. However, we are also seeing the proportions not being as equal as they should be. So in the end, I mean, when we look, for instance, in 20 years between 2003 and 2023, the proportion of senior management positions occupied by Black Africans increased, say from 14% to 27%. But again, much as important progress has been made, it does not speak to the true demographics of our country. But we still need to do much more. Yes, there's been progress, but much more progress needs to be done. And this is where all of us as South Africans must work together, Black and white, to make sure that there is true advancement of those who were previously disadvantaged, rather than others complaining that, no, these laws are too biased towards those who were previously disadvantaged. We want to lift all boats at the same time and make sure that, yes, those who have been previously disadvantaged are also advantaged. We've built on the successes that we've registered, but we still need to entrench the principles of equality and make sure that we have improved outcomes. Where we need to make changes, where we need to make improvements, we should be able to do so without being afraid. And one of the speakers said here, we should be bold. And we do need to recognize that there was some concern about the effect that the government of national unity would have on government's approach to economic empowerment and transformation. Now, the parties to the government of national unity reflect a wide range of political, social, and economic perspectives. Even now, these parties continue to articulate differing positions in public. Now, these debates are important and should be aired. Yet the agreed priorities of the government of national unity do provide us with a platform for meaningful transformation. In the medium-term development plan of government, we have identified 3 strategic priorities. It's driving inclusive growth and job creation, reducing poverty, and also reducing the high cost of living. And more importantly, also building a capable, ethical, and developmental state. Now, the reforms that are underway to improve the capacity and efficiency of our network industries are transformational. By driving investment, improving efficiency, and increasing competition in areas like electricity and logistics, as well as water and telecommunications, we will substantially reduce the cost of doing business. And we will reduce the barriers to entry for emerging businesses, including businesses in townships or in rural areas. Similarly, our focus on expanding infrastructure investment will drive productive capacity and activity and expand our economic capabilities. Now, the public infrastructure spending over the next 3 years will be around 1 trillion rand. This is unprecedented. The 7th administration is driving the economic growth of our country through infrastructure spend. And this is where we do believe that infrastructure will truly be the flywheel that will drive the economic growth in our country that is so needed to create the jobs that we so need. It is vital that we use this investment to provide opportunities for employment for our people, but also to provide opportunities for black businesses, not only in construction, but in all the sectors that will provide the materials, the goods, the services that such an infrastructure drive requires. Now, as we develop our industrial capacity, which we must develop, because over the years there's been deindustrialization in our economy, we need to expand the traditional sectors such as mining, agriculture, steel production, while at the same time developing new industries like renewable energy, electric vehicles, and green hydrogen. We will also be seeking to create opportunities for the emergence of a new black and women-led business class. As we support emerging farmers, now as we improve our logistics network, as well as improving our rural supply chains and open new export markets, we need to be driving transformation in our various industries, in agriculture, yes, in transport, yes, in construction. All these industries need to be transformed. And we cannot just tinker on the sidelines. We must go to the heart of where the real challenge is and make sure that the ownership, the management, and the control of those industries in the end do reflect or does reflect the demographics of our country. And we cannot separate our drive for inclusive growth for the drive for economic empowerment. And I stress this because the noises that continue to be made against empowerment and transformation are worrying. As we created the Transformation Fund to fund Black-owned small businesses and other enterprises, we suddenly heard negative voices about the establishment of the Transformation Fund. And we have said we are forging ahead with the establishment of this fund, and we are going to allocate money. As the president of the BBC was saying, access to finance is one of the things, or lack of access to finance is one of the challenges and hurdles that many Black businesses face. And we therefore, as government, must make sure that there is access to finance for Black-owned businesses. And I continue to say to the financial institutions, this is money that we are prepared to guarantee. We want you to fund businesses that are facing challenges during COVID. And in the end, they set up so many hurdles, so many strictures, so many challenges for small, medium enterprises, and only spent 20 billion. And we're not able to spend the rest of the money, which we had guaranteed. And that continues to be one of the issues I continue to raise about lack of access to funding. There must be access to funding. We must open the levers of funding Black-owned businesses so that they must participate in the economy. Now, this is about establishing a new wave of emerging innovative businesses that can create work opportunities for our people. And the use of the Public Procurement Act, for instance, to ensure that businesses owned by women, owned by young people and persons with disabilities do receive equitable opportunities in government contracts. And this, in the end, is about unleashing the potential of all South Africans. The Black Industrialist Program is promoting the growth as well as the competitiveness of Black-owned and controlled enterprises in the manufacturing sectors of our economy. Even as we set this program up, there were negative noises, but we've now proven that programs and initiatives such as the Black Industrialist Program are really showing great benefits. Jobs are being created and businesses that are successful are being built. Now, this program is drawing into the productive economy, the skills, the capabilities and energy of people who had been neglected in the past. And such initiatives make our economy stronger, not weaker. They strengthen the economy, they make the economy more inclusive, and it is through these transformational initiatives that our economy will also grow. We need to challenge the notion that Black economic empowerment is a cost to the economy, because there are those who say it is costing the economy much too much. And when you ask them in what way it is costing the economy, they are not able to explain. We need to demonstrate that it is an investment in the economy. Now is not the time to abandon the measures that we have put in place to drive transformation. Now is the time to move forward with greater purpose as well as ambition. And I really appreciate those who spoke on this platform, who were saying that we need to be bolder and we need to move forward with greater urgency and determination. And we must use the lessons that we have learned over the past 30 years to make our empowerment policies and progress much more meaningful and impactful. They must be ever more effective drivers of inclusive growth as well as of employment. Now, as we undertake this work, we can be certain, I'm sure about this, that the Black Business Council, and I'm not saying this so that I can load praise on your shoulders, I'm saying this because I'd like to reinforce your own commitment and determination that the BBC will remain an unwavering champion of empowerment and transformation and progress. Never ever weaken your commitment when it comes to transformation. And we can be certain that yes, your organization should and will continue to advance the interests not only of its members, not only of Black business, but of all the people of South Africa. As the BBC, you need also to raise your gaze and put the message out there that yes, whilst we champion the advancement of those who were previously disadvantaged, we also want to champion the advancement of all South Africans, so that all of us must continue building the economy of our country, working together, collaborating, and cooperating. Because in the end, it is by working together and by focusing on growth that is inclusive and transformational that we can make real progress towards ensuring that the people of our country do indeed share in the country's wealth. Now, in November, we will be holding the G20 Leaders Summit. And we are hoping that at that G20, we will emerge with a declaration that will guide the entire world in terms of fostering equality and transformation, sustainability, and making sure that we do address the challenges that are facing the world. Challenges that are alluded to right at the beginning. Right now, there are some 130 meetings that are being held right across the country, where a number of countries come to our country to have discussions in various work streams. And your organization is also involved in the business section of all that, and we are delighted about that. And all this is going to lead to the formulation of the declaration that will give guidance to various countries around the world. And this is a great opportunity for our country. But it is also a great opportunity for our continent as we seek to advance the objectives of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, where not only ourselves will trade with the rest of the continent, but where the continent will be involved in intra-trade processes where we foster each other's progress. And the G20, where we advocated for the inclusion of our continent as a full member of the G20, is a great opportunity. And South Africa now stands at the heart of influencing what can happen in the world, and from a policy perspective and from an execution perspective. And it is this process that I would like the BBC to embrace and to get fully involved in as the discussions and the debates continue to happen right throughout the year, right until the Leaders' Summit. And the BBC, therefore, standing for transformation, advocating transformation, plays an important role and is positioned in a very, very key role to ensure that we do push the transformation envelope. We do push the quest for equality, and we do push the quest for sustainability in everything that we do. As I said, the world is facing many challenges, so are we in our own country. But we now have a great opportunity, given all these challenges, to play a key role. And this is where your organization comes in. You have done well as an organization in the past, and you continue to do well. And we are proud of what you stand for, on the work that you do, much as sometimes you do criticize us, and we accept the criticism very, very easily, without even dimming the lights of any situation. We do accept that, and we regard the BBC as our partners in bringing about change in our country, in fostering transformation, in making sure that we do indeed change our country. And as we move forward, once again, to the national dialogue, I expect the BBC to continue playing the role that you continue playing. Thank you very much. It's been a joy to be with you here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable President of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. Please join us on stage. Papa. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for the Honorable President, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. I ask you to please join us on stage so that we may honor our game changers. Yes. So ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. I'd like to call on to stage, yes. Ntate Elias, where were you? We needed you at the White House. Where were you, Ntate Elias? We needed you. This thing of you not having your own private jet is a problem. We need to fix it this year, please. All right.
You know, I thought, President, the discussion that we had earlier, that what happened in the US remains in the US. So I'm not going to respond to the US saga. It will be a debate for another day. Colleagues, we want to honor the three individuals tonight. And I need then perhaps then to qualify so that none of you, we should not then critique to say why we didn't do X and not Y, in whatever form or shape. We are only honoring three individuals tonight. We're supposed to honor 6, but due to the circumstances, some they're not in the country, and most of those individuals are women. So we are not going to tell you tonight to say who are those women, because we'll be spoiling the party. We are going to have a function for them later, and we'll ask either the president or the minister in the presidency to be part of that occasion when we honor those three individual females that at the right time will basically then tell you. But tonight, we are honoring 3 individuals. The first one is Pitso Mosimane.
I want to stay here.
A big round of applause for Mr. Pitso Musimani, who couldn't be here tonight. He's looking for a new job.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of the BBC, the CEO, all protocol observed, and our amazing leaders. As you can tell, Coach Pitso is not here today. Unfortunately, our father could not make it. My name is Lelintle, this is my brother Kopano, and we wanted to accept this award on his behalf. We wanted to also thank the BBC for recognizing a sporting icon in this manner and at home. We appreciate all the efforts that the BBC members do for our economy and especially for us as the youth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I know life's crazy, man. I was told to speak on the more emotional side about it. Just watching my father, achieve the great success that he's been able to do over the years made me realize what it takes to have such weight and presence in any society or any industry. And for him, his slogan was always to change the game for good. And indeed, he has done that, and we thank the BBC for recognizing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you to Date Pitso's kids. You can always tell by the accent of a child how hard the parents work. Thank you.
The second award that we are awarding tonight is for Dr. John Kani.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason people like I can have a career today, the legend himself, the real superhero. We don't need drones in South Africa, we have Black Panther. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. John Kani. Yes, keep it going, ladies and gentlemen, for the incredible Dr. John Kani.
Thank you, Mr. President, Your Excellency. It is incredible to have you in this wonderful occasion of the BBC talking about black empowerment. And we're all products of that black empowerment. We thank you for your leadership, and we thank you for your commitment to this country and its people. And we thank the chair, the president of the BBC, for bringing us together and recognize us in the little things we do in our small little corners. I'm 82 years old. When I started, Mr. President, in 1965, I said to my father, I want to be an actor. He took me to a sangoma. And the sangoma made a mistake and said, your child is going to be bewitched because he's the breadwinner. I didn't have a job. And I didn't want to work at all. And today, because he gave me a chance to do what I really wanted to do, there are nearly 500,000 actors working in this country with the permission of their parents and the blessing of their society. because I decided that the challenge of my father and the challenge of my community is actually an opportunity for me to prove I can do this. Yes, I can. When I won the Tony Award on Broadway for Best Actor, I went to visit a friend of mine who I took a cable to see his house. Gabi Makhumula and his family were the first to congratulate us. When King Charles wanted to honor me as the officer of the most excellent order of the British Empire, I was invited during your dinner, and I told the minister that how come the president didn't give me a lift? He's alone in that jet. And we're going to the same place. And the minister said, John Dagababa, we've been in trouble about giving lifts. So it is indeed an honor and incredible for me to be here. I am the custodian of our culture. My job is social cohesion. My job is to look at us in the mirror and be proud of who we are. My job is to tell the stories of truth. When someone said to me, I'm a storyteller, I said, no, I'm a truth teller. And if it's uncomfortable for you, I don't care. I'm too old to care for you. So thank you, and thank you for this honor. I'm very proud.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. John Kani. Wow. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, for a man who walked so we could run, Dr. John Kani, the only person Beyonce has asked for a selfie.
The last award goes to Mzwakhe Mbuli.
Let's hear it for Ntate Mzwakhe Mbule, ladies and gentlemen. A man with a way with words, ladies and gentlemen. Poetic activist, a legend. Please put your hands together for Mr. Mzwakhe Mbuli.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, Black Business Council. Mr. President, Your Honor, and all protocols observed. When I was invited about this Game Changer Award, I was humbled. Thanks a million to you, President Elias Mzwakhe, for the honor and the vision. I nearly said I would dedicate this award to Ibrahim Traore. But I was saying to the president, umyekile Trump. Because Mugabe told Tony Blair to keep his England, look at his Zimbabwe. So our president promised that he was going to tell Trump to keep his America. Sometimes people ask me, who am I? I think it is important for me. I always explain who am I. Obviously, I introduced Nelson Mandela when he was inaugurated, but I should always say that all the time. But I'm told it's about the arts, my role in the arts, and also in the liberation struggle. I think it is important, just in case I die, or in case somebody says, who is this one? I became, Mr. President, fortunately you are here. There's one incident we did in the arts during the cultural boycott and the total isolation of South Africa. We stopped physically the OJs at Orlando Stadium, not to perform. They were cultural boycott busters. The SABC censored my music, SABC under apartheid, and SABC in a democratic South Africa. They have censored a popular song titled Vuga Taki, Vuga Mntu, not Lala Taki. In this country, Mr. President, Vuga Taki, you'll hear the lyrics. I'm told I must just say a poem a little bit at the end. And then the airwaves in South Africa are not free, Mr. President. Huma Sikela, Miriam Makeba, Jonas Kwangwa, Kefa Semenya came to this country after 30 years. They were excited, looking forward to a free South Africa, only to find out that the airwaves were not free. When last did you hear their music? Instead, the American music dominates the airwaves in South Africa. I'm not sure whether there was a blunder at CODESA, whether the economy was discussed, was on the agenda at CODESA, because total emancipation without economic power is meaningless. Stephen Bantu Biko said, the man was interrogated for 22 hours standing, naked. He said, the people were tired of becoming spectators in the economy, in the game they were supposed to be participating themselves. Yeah, I think about the White House, somebody lied. If somebody distorts your history, will control your future. Any else talked about thanking the Americans about the Angolan war? No. The truth, the Battle of Equito Equana Valley in the southern Angola, 1,000 South African Defense Force members were trapped and surrounded by the Cuban soldiers, and Apple and Swapo. South Africa was defeated and surrendered, and the Resolution 435 UN was signed. Namibia gained its independence. So we will forever be indebted to Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro and the Cubans who laid their lives for the liberation of the country. I give you the poem, Vuga Taki, the one that the SABC cannot play. The moment of truth has come. Now is the time. The time is now. Now is the time to unchain mental chains. Now is the time to break mental chains. Now is the time for soul searching. Now is the time to regain dignity and power. Poverty is color in South Africa. In South Africa, poverty is color. The economy is still in white hands. Minerals are still in white hands. Silence is no longer golden. Silence could mean cowardice. Vuga Taki, walala wasala. The most potent weapon of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Ukulimala kwengqondo, ukulimala komuntu, ukulimala komuntu, ukulimala komphakathi, ukulimala komphakathi, ukulimala kwesizwe, ukulimala kwesizwe, ukulimala komphakathi. Now is the time to change the narrative and change and think differently. People are colonized, people are westernized, people are brainwashed. Now is the time to vuga taki. People have become carbon copies of foreign cultures. Destiny is not determined by foreign concepts and designs. Destiny is determined by the choices we make. Vuga taki, walala wasala. Lastly, now is the time for patriotic love. Now is the time for patriotic love. Poverty, now is the time for patriotic love. Charity begins at home. Support township economy, kasi, rural economy, buy black, buy brilliantly, buy wisely. The future is in your hands. Vuga taki, walala wasa.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, a man who thinks in sonnets and ballads, Mr. Mzwakhe Mbuli. Vuga taki. Vuga taki. Oh, wow. Incredible. One more time for Ntate Mzwakhe Mbuli, ladies and gentlemen. There's no way all those words were on that small piece of paper. There's no way. Oh, man. What a beautiful piece. Thank you for sharing that with us, Papa. We were waiting for one. No need to brag. Mawugqoke ijacket elinama zigzag. Ongathi his sleeping bag. All right. Turn to your neighbor, say neighbor. Vugataki. Wait, you guys can't. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to take this time while we have our honorable president with us to really capture this beautiful moment. So I want to please call all the national office bearers to the stage for a unique photo opportunity. So please, all the national office bearers at the, hey, careful, my lady. So we're going to do our sponsor photos. All right. And then when we are done with this photo, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to prepare the next photo opportunity. I'd like 2 representatives from wholesale and retail SETA to make their way as soon as we are done with this photo op. All right, smile. Tisha, smile, yes. There we go. Thank you, my lady. All right, let's see those teeth. No, just button. The stomach is fine as is. We are body positive here. Let's give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'd like to call up 2 representatives from our anchor sponsor, Wholesale and Retail SETA. Here they are, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as we are through with them, please can we have our platinum sponsor, Coca-Cola Beverages, bring up 2 representatives. And then can we have fiber processing manufacturer SETA representatives as well. Please make your way to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. We would appreciate the fluidness. Yes, a word from our sponsor.
It's too many men. I will come when there are women. No, man, thanks, yeah. No, thanks.
All right, and then our platinum sponsors, Fiber Processing and Manufacturing SETA. And then, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like for 1 representative to come from ABSA, DBSA, Anglo America, Vodacom, IDC, African Bank, National Empowerment Fund, MTN, Santam, Hollard, and SETA. Could 1 representative from each one of those organizations please come to the stage? And then I'd also like Ms. Dumimbata to join us on stage as well. Ms. Dumimbata. So the final representatives, please make your way onto the stage. One representative from each organization, ladies and gentlemen. Ergo to Semama, lady in red. Hey.
This is after that, it will be DPSA, then Vodacom.
Oh, okay, Absa picture. MTN, please make your way up. We can have other representatives as well.
Take one big picture.
So just a reminder, it's one representative from each organization, ladies and gentlemen. So as you come onto the stage, you are representing your organization. Santam, Hollard, CETA, MTN, African Bank, National Empowerment Fund, IDC, Vodacom, and Anglo America.
Oh, we're supposed to be in the other one.
Over here, my lady. Beautiful Spanza jacket. Could the CEO from DBSA please make your way to the stage? Thank you very much, thank you very much. All right, this is our final group. Aich. Okay. What a beautiful suit. All right. That's it from all of our sponsors. Mr. President, yes, we are done. I heard there's one more left. All right. Us. This was by order.
Thank you so much.
After that, we call.
At the highest level. Ladies and gentlemen, okay. We've made a request by Ntate Elias, if it's okay. So the last one from the table.